Hello, my name is Sydney Thomas, and I chose to do my presentation on waste management. So the topic I chose and why, as I said, I chose waste management, and it's because I was curious about these certain things. The questions being what the process is like, what is the effective and proper use of waste management, what are the policies for waste management, and what can all of us do to achieve better waste management. These just intrigued me when I was searching through topics to choose from. So that's why I chose that. All right. What is waste management? Waste management is a process where collecting, transporting, processing, recycling, and disposing is done to minimize environmental pollution and conserve resources. Waste Management, Republic Services, and Water Connections Incorporated are the three most used waste management companies. We all probably are very familiar with the WM symbol more than the other two, I would think. All right, and then how is waste management related to globalization? So the first part of this is global trade. These are just the few that I selected. There's a really long list of connections, but these are just the top three that I chose to talk about. So the first thing is global trade. Many types of waste material, such as recyclables, hazardous waste, and electronic waste, are exported from developed countries to less developed countries to the less developed countries. So this global trade in waste has raised concerns about environmental pollution, worker safety, and social justice. As communities in receiving countries receive such materials, it raises the risk of handling hazardous or badly managed waste. There are many types of waste being exported to other countries, but the three main ones that are very dangerous in comparison to others are recyclables, which are materials such as paper, plastics, glass, and metals that can be processed and reused in manufacturing. Then hazardous waste materials that contain chemical, biological, or physical properties. Examples include industrial chemicals, contaminated soil, and medical waste. And then the third and final one is electronic waste, which is e waste. This is discarded electronic products and components such as computers, smartphones, and televisions, which although contain valuable metals for reusing purposes as well as hazardous substances that put those who handle it in danger. The global trade in waste has raised environmental and social concerns. Improper handling and disposal of waste materials lead to pollution of air, water, and soil, as well as impacts on human health and ecosystems. Bringing it back to communities in importing countries, they get the worst of all the negatives to global trade of waste, being that those people who are handling it in those other countries with less policies than others, they are at more of a danger. Global trade in waste has evolved over time as many things do, and in this case, it is in response to changes in market demand, regulatory frameworks, and technological advancements. For example, some countries have restricted or banned the import of certain types of waste following concerns about environmental pollution and public health risks. The next the next subtopic, I guess, of the globalization is the cross-border waste management solutions. This is a collective effort between countries that address waste management challenges such as how to promote proper waste management, reduce pollution, and create efficiency in all areas. This is in major relation to globalization because of collaborative efforts from all countries involved. Cross border waste management solutions involve the sharing of information, expertise, and best practices among countries. This includes exchanging data on waste generation and composition, sharing technological innovations and waste management technologies, as well as facilities, training programs, and workshops to help improve how their employees are being trained. Countries also form international collaborations and partnerships to address common waste management challenges. This comes in many different forms. Sorry about that. Let me continue from my last thought. So, countries also form international collaborations and partnerships to address common waste management challenges. This comes in many different forms, and some examples are bilateral agreements, regional initiatives, or partnerships with international organizations and non-government organizations, which are NGOs. These collaborations push to develop waste management strategies and share resources and infrastructure. The final part of this slide is e-waste recycling and supply chains. The process of this is managing discarded electronics. The aim of this is to recover valuable materials and minimize environmental damage. Very similar to the information I had given in the global trade portion of this slide, e-waste is exported from developed countries to developing countries for recycling or disposal. The reason for this is driven by economic factors such as lower labor costs and less strict environmental regulations in some regions. E-waste recycling is a very complex supply chain and that has multiple stages and geographical regions involving the movement of e-waste materials, components, and products across borders. The supply chains are characterized by the global movement of e-waste materials from collection points to processing facilities, recyclers, manufacturers, and end users, also known as those who reuse the e-waste materials and parts for new electronics. The globalization of e-waste supply chains has heavy reliance on international trade and collaboration to manage the e-waste effectively. So the waste management process. The whole process is very simple to explain, yet a very long process that requires a lot of attention to detail. It is important for those involved in the waste managing process to be as accurate as possible to minimize as much environmental damage as possible. I chose this imagery because I found it simple to follow along and understand the whole cycle a lot easier. So I'm going to start off on the far left side of the image just to make it easier to follow along. To start off, the first part of the cycle is where the trash is created. This is done by all of us every day, and when I say it is important for all those involved in the waste management process to be as accurate as possible, that includes all of us as well. We are the start of something that can create and has created a lot of damage, and it is very important to take waste management seriously. The next step of this process, moving straight across following the arrows, is whatever day of the week you put your trash bins out for the garbage truck to collect, which is a very simple step that most of us don't think twice about just because it's a normal thing to take your trash out and put your bins on the street. Next, the recycling. So that first trash bin with the recycling sign on it, it gets transported to the garbage truck, obviously, and then to the recycling depository. Um, so the separation happens then, and then the recycling depository is where they receive, store, and process pre-sorted single streams of waste and processes it into a recycled product. Then moving on back down the page to the last two bins of the three. This is where regular trash goes to a transfer station where the harm to the environment can start to occur. Sources of air pollution and other threats to public health, as well as noise, odors, and excessive truck traffic on local roads, occurs in the general area of the transfer location. Some are open to the public, whereas some are privately owned by those big companies I mentioned earlier on. At the transfer station, there is a bunch of sorting that goes on, and it gets divided into recycling, compostables, and the waste landfill. The United States has over 3,000 active landfills and 10,000 closed landfills. Landfills are necessary for proper disposal of solid waste. They reduce the amount of waste that makes it into the environment, help to prevent disease transmission, and keep communities clean. However, landfills still have significant environmental and social impact. While landfills are a societal necessity, there are practices that can reduce the reliance on landfills and decrease their effects on the biosphere. All right, how is waste management related to the environment? Environmental pollution. This is a result of improper waste management and improper landfill management as well. Things such as open dumping and burning of waste can have major negative effects on the environment. As all of us know, there are many types of pollution. In this case, many of them relate to waste management, those being soil, air, and noise pollution, which are the three main ones to apply. There are more, but just to give generalization. When waste is not managed properly, it can contaminate soil, water, and air, leading to environmental degradation and harming ecosystems. For example, landfills can seep into groundwater, contaminating drinking water sources, while air pollution from waste can contribute to respiratory problems and climate change, which is a big thing I'll talk about later on. Um, the next section is climate change as as well. So today, more than ever, we see the result of improper waste management, and that being the weather. This I feel very passionate about, just because it becomes more obvious every day. Especially, I feel like with this weather, just being in Wisconsin, it's very clear that the damage to the earth is becoming immense above our control. So, the waste management has caused problems for climate change through the release of greenhouse gases such as methane and carbon dioxide. Landfills are a huge source of methane emissions as organic waste decomposes in the absence of oxygen. Methane is a potent greenhouse gas that contributes to global warming and climate change. Additionally, burning of waste materials can release carbon dioxide and other pollutants into the atmosphere, further exacerbating the climate changes. The final section of this slide is habitat destruction. This I also feel is very important because animals go extinct from habitat destruction all the time, and it is because it has causes of poorly managed waste management. So again, inadequate waste management practices is the issue. This ultimately leads to natural environments being destroyed, particularly in natural environments such as forests, wetlands, and marine ecosystems. Improperly disposed waste can degrade habitats, disrupt ecosystems, and threaten the survival of plant animal species. This I feel like we've seen in the past years when we've been seeing like certain animals are going extinct, and it's like also sad, but then people move on from it, and I feel like it needs to be talked about way more and way longer. This also leads to the big issue for the environmental section, which is littering. It still is a major issue when it comes to forests and bodies of water. It harms the animals of the habitat. Littering alters the ecosystem's dynamics, creating a threat. This is definitely a leading reason to promote proper waste management. So, waste management policies in the US. The policies vary from all over the world, so I will just be focusing on the United States. As it is for many policies, there is a federal, state, and local level to the certain needs of each individual area. I'll be talking about a few of the acts that are put in place. The first one being the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, which is the RCRA. It was enacted in 1976. RCRA is the primary federal law regulating the management of hazardous and non hazardous solid waste. RCRA establishes a framework for the management of solid waste from generation of disposal, including requirements for waste tracking, storage, transportation, treatment, and disposal. RCRA also authorizes the Environmental Protection Agency, which is the EPA, to set standards for hazardous waste management, issue permits for hazardous waste facilities, and enforce compliance with waste management regulations. The next thing is the Clean Air Act, which is the CAA. I feel like these next two are very well known and common knowledge to a lot of people. So the Clean Air Act, originally enacted in 1970 and amended several times since then, regulates air pollution from various sources, including waste management facilities such as solid waste and landfills. The CAA establishes emission standards for pollutants such as particulate matter, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxides, and vol- and organic compounds emitted from waste management activities. The EPA oversees compliance with air quality standards and enforces regulations to reduce air pollution from waste management facilities. And the Clean Water Act, the CWA, enacted in 1972, regulates water pollution and discharge of pollutants into surface waters, including rivers, lakes, and oceans. The CWA establishes water quality standards, regulates wastewater discharge permits, and sets limitations for industrial and wastewater treatment facilities. Waste management facilities such as landfills and wastewater treatment plants must comply with CWA regulations to protect water quality and prevent contamination of surface and groundwater sources. All right, and then the last one is state and local regulations, which is just in addition to federal regulations, state and local governments have their own waste management regulations and policies tailored to local needs and priorities. These may include landfill siting and permitting requirements, recycling mandates, waste diversion goals, and incentives for waste reduction and recycling. States have primary responsibilities for regulating non hazardous solid waste management, while the EPA oversees hazardous waste management under RCRA. How is waste management related to economics? This will be like the final part of the three sections. And the first part of this is cost benefit analysis. It is when it comes to waste management, cost benefit analysis considers the factors like environmental impacts and public health benefits. CBA involves identifying and qualifying all relevant costs and benefits associated with different waste management options. These costs may include transportation, treatment, and disposal of waste. The benefits to this include savings from resource recovery, reduced pollution, and improved public health. CBA requires monetizing both the costs and benefits of waste management activities, which allows for a direct comparison between them. This involves assigning a monetary value to factors that may not have a market price, such as environmental and quality or health outcomes. CBA provides decision makers with information to compare the costs and benefits of alternative waste management strategies and select the option that maximizes net benefits to society. By quantifying the economic efficiency of different options, CBA helps policymakers allocate resources effectively and prioritize investments in waste management infrastructure and programs. Next section is market incentives and the influence market incentives have on waste management is very important because of the influence it has on individuals, businesses, and governments. They can be implemented through pricing mechanisms such as taxes and fees. An example of this is that governments may impose taxes on landfill disposals or virgin materials while providing subsidies or tax credits for recycling or waste to energy initiatives. These signals encourage waste generators to internalize the cost of waste disposal. Pay as you throw PAYT programs charge households and businesses for waste collection services based on the amount of waste they generate. By linking the cost of service directly to quantity of waste production, PAYT programs incent- incentivize waste reduction and recycling. People are motivated to minimize waste generation and increase recycling efforts to reduce their waste disposal costs. There are many different programs that encourage proper waste management that I will not list all of them today, but those were just a few. Um, Advanced waste management systems, their integrated waste management systems leverage technology to optimize collection, transportation, treatment, and disposal processes. So this is a part of the innovation and technology, which is the last part of this section. So this one becomes more important as the years go on and technology gets bigger and bigger. This encourages an investment in research to further waste management technology. Smart waste management systems equipped with sensors and data analytics that enable real-time monitoring of waste flows, route optimization, and predictive maintenance. All of these improving operational efficiency and reducing costs at the same time. There's also increasing accuracy as well. So the digital platforms and marketplace connect waste generators and with recycling facilities, waste to energy plants, and other waste management service providers, facilitating efficient waste and resource exchange. These platforms streamline the logistics of waste management operations to promote collaboration and create new business opportunities in the circular economy. All right, what can we do? This is very difficult to answer because not everyone in the world can be on the same page. There will always be someone to litter or throw a soda bottle into the regular trash, but if everyone does their part, it will make an impact. First thing is everyone knows we were taught in like elementary school, I think, like reduce, reuse, and recycle. Technology and social media is a huge, huge thing because it's so easy to just spread the word from technology and social media. I think that is the best way to communicate this, to communicate as like an action plan in communities is very helpful. With Facebook, I feel like a lot of people on Facebook who is a great it's a great community on there. In education, so just like this class, basically, like as long as it's still around and people are still taking these classes, and even like on your own education, just searching up like even a Google a question, it's never a stupid question, just to learn and to know. All right, and then these are my references. Thank you so much for listening.